I'm holding court, you standing trial. Why ain't I see you round back when
Well, in 2000, on February 20th, my mother hosted this event in Slidell, Louisiana. I came to the event as a special guest, and sometime around midnight, which made it February 21st, somewhere after midnight, a fight broke out on the dance floor, leaving a young man. A young man, as a result, lost his life. And my condolences to his family. And a couple hours later, I was arrested at my home. And they arrested me because witnesses say they saw me pull out a gun. And I think in 2001 was my trial. I was found guilty of manslaughter. But a week after my arrest, a person actually came forth and told the officers that they were the person that shot this guy. And I still was convicted by an all-white jury in a very rural parish in Louisiana.
Which parish was that, Jefferson?
St. Tammany.
Oh, okay, wow. You were in Slidell?
Slidell, Louisiana, yeah.
Wow.
And the parish was St. Tammany.
That shit crazy. Now, real quick, Mac, that night you had a 38, or was it 357? What was it?
No, I had a 38.
38, which was registered and legal.
Registered to me. Yeah,
right.
Legally registered.
Registered to you. And you shot one round in the air, correct?
No.
Oh, you never shot?
I didn't shoot. I never shot the gun at all. Yeah. And they determined that. When I gave them the gun after my arrest, I gave them the gun. It was at my house. They still had all the bullets in it. They determined in court that the gun wasn't fired. But after doing that, what they did was they created the possibility. See, these lawyers are clever. The district attorney was very clever, particularly the prosecutor. He didn't have any physical evidence. He didn't have any circumstantial evidence. So what he did was he created this theory in the jurors' minds. He just wanted to create the idea that it was possible for me to have gotten rid of a gun in between Slidell and Baton Rouge, which is 45 minutes apart. So because they arrested me at my house, they created the idea that I could have had another weapon, because the weapon I gave them was obviously not the weapon. So they created the theory that I threw out a weapon, or I could have gotten. Now, they never went to go look for any weapon. They never went try to go search for another weapon. They just created the thought in the juror's mind, which were already predominantly, they were all white and predominantly middle-aged, right? And we're talking about one of the most conservative parishes in Louisiana. And I think that with all of those factors involved, I think that my innocence or guilt was already weighed by the public of that area before the trial even started.
But they had someone who copped to the shooting. Did they look into him or into any of that?
No, they let him go. They told him that basically they threatened him because they felt like he was interfering with their investigation. The words they used with my father was, they have who they want. They let this guy go, and they held an accessory after the fact charge over his head until after my charges was resolved, and they dropped his and let him go.
Wow. Did they ever test your hands? Did they ever test your clothes for gunpowder residue?
Yes, they did. Those tests were never found. They supposedly not only never found them, they got an expert officer to get on the stand and testify. And this is in the transcripts for those who want to look it up. He testified, I think his name was Officer Stubbs. He testified that paraffin tests are unreliable in Louisiana, and therefore we don't use them in Louisiana, was his exact words.
Wow.
Now, I wonder how the hundreds or possibly thousands of people who were indeed convicted because of paraffin tests, right. I wonder if they really, I wonder how they felt after hearing this guy say that they're unreliable and we therefore don't use them in Louisiana. But that was what he had to say to counter the idea of us even finding just in case we find the paraffin test. Look, they're unreliable anyway. Yeah.
Yeah, they're unreliable, but we did do them. We just don't know where they're at.
They can't find them. We couldn't find them. Yeah. The cameras that were in the club as well, we couldn't find the tapes because there were surveillance cameras in the club. We couldn't find them either.
So when they make the statement, we got who we want, do you think that, it was because of you being a part of No Limit and it was the same thing that, because, we've all been targeted. I know that I've been at the airport and me and P been coming off the plane and feds is waiting on us just for no reason.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And we know that Rap-A-Lot has been targeted. Death Row was targeted. Right. Murder Inc. was targeted. Do you think that it was kind of like, okay, that incident happened, you got wrapped up in it, but, you one of them No Limit boys. We got you. You think that played a part into it?
Yeah and no.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I do think that No Limit was targeted.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that I was targeted in particular because of circumstances surrounding this case, right? And I was the leader, or I was the just bluntly put, I was the most famous person in the room. So when one of the witnesses said, Mac Nim. Nim don't have a name in the face, right? But that guy on that poster do. So I believe that when the officers came looking for me, I like to believe that they really thought they had the person who did this. I like to believe that. I try to believe that because I try to be objective. I try to believe that these men actually came looking for the person who they thought was responsible. Yet, I do think that where the malice came in is once they found out that this person was not, because I do believe that sometime in the middle of the night, they started realizing that we may actually be questioning the wrong person. But then I believe that the peer pressure from their community and just the opportunity to break the big case for that parish, I think that was stronger than what was actually right in their consciousness. Yeah. So I think they just rolled with it, and they got lazy with their police work. Instead of fully investigating this crime, it's like, nah, we have this person, and instead of wasting our time on investigating whether or not this person did it, we're going to spend that same time proving by however means we can the person that we want to basically tie this crime to this guy that we got in custody.
Yeah, I mean, let's just say it, Mac. I mean, it was careers built off your conviction. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, you was famous at the time. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You were a famous gangster rapper, a part of a label who they don't want there anyway. Because at that time, P was in Baton Rouge. He up there in the governor's fucking gated section. They didn't want y'all down there. You know what I'm saying?
Want us there.
So we're going to come up. This is sensationalized. We got the fucking gangster rapper niggers, and we finna show y'all why they don't need to be here. That's really what it was. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah.
And I do believe that was definitely a contributing factor. The other side of it is I was just in the wrong place at the right time for them. It was like, oh, we got us one. So now we not only have us one, there were certain things or certain factors that also contributed to me being the target. And so with a combination of all of that, I think that it was the perfect opportunity for them to set an example for their parish, like, yo, this is what we do. We're tough on crime. Well, it was almost like the perfect situation for them. And where I think that it was wrong was, had these guys wholeheartedly believed that I was the person who did this and they followed through with it, I wouldn't even be mad at it. Because even though you were wrong, you really believed that you were doing the right thing. But that's not the case. I strongly believe that somewhere in between my house and getting back to their office, they knew what was up. And instead of doing the right thing, they allowed their appetite for fame for them.
Of course.
To get in
cloud chasing at its best.
Cloud chasing.
Yeah. So at that time, had C already been dealing with his situation, or was his situation after yours?
His came 2 years later.
Okay. So so a jury of 12 convicted a man who was never caught with a weapon, never had a criminal record, never broke a law, never, you know what I'm saying, and cooperated. You didn't run, you didn't flee, you know.
Right.
And they sat there even with all, it wasn't even strong circumstantial evidence. It was just, well, it's possible, as you said. I mean, so once that verdict comes down of guilty, and did you get 20 with an L? Was it 25 with an L? Or?
No, I got 30. I got 30 years.
Once that came down and you blew trial and they say 30 years, man, what was that moment like when you like, fuck? And then you're innocent. It's one thing when you guilty, you kind of just like, okay, you caught me with my hand in a cookie jar, but you innocent. What was that feeling like?
All right, so look, before I answer that, I want to clear up something. And I know you didn't mean it no way, but I just want to clear this up for the viewers.
Okay.
When he said cooperated, he's not saying I snitched.
So yeah. No, cooperated meaning that you didn't have nothing to say, but I was there. I was there.
Right,
I didn't do nothing.
I allowed them to use my. I cooperated in the sense when they came to my house.
Yeah.
I didn't try to buck with them. I didn't ask for no attorney.
That's what I meant.
My house.
Yeah. Like, that's what I meant.
Oh, I know that's what you meant. I just wanted to let the viewers know.
Yeah.
Look, that's what we mean about
good catch, because you know these motherfuckers. They'll be in the comments like that nigga Mac a snitch.
Like,
yeah. Good catch.
I would cooperate like that. Yeah.
Good catch.
So basically, what happened was, man, I thought I was getting out the whole trial. When I tell you, I really thought that I was going to be found not guilty. I really believed that the whole way, you know, because I just was in my heart. I was like, I know I didn't do anything. So these jurors, you know, even though it was 12 white people from rural USA, I felt that these people were not going to believe this bullshit. You know what I mean? I was like, this is too weak, man. You have a guy confess. You have no evidence, like you mentioned, no circumstantial, no physical evidence, nothing. So I thought I was going to get out. So when I got convicted, I never forget when the jury came back, it was weird because I can hear two people damn near yelling from the deliberation room, like, this is bullshit. I could hear them yelling, right? So when they came out, I saw two women crying. The jurors asked the judge, what is the difference between second-degree murder and manslaughter? I was on trial for second-degree murder. When they asked the judge this question, I knew already in my heart that I was about to be convicted of manslaughter, because I felt that the jury were trying to please or appease all parties involved. I was on trial for second-degree murder. On the verdict sheet, you have not guilty, guilty, and manslaughter. You had not guilty. Wait, it was second-degree murder, guilty, not guilty of second-degree murder, and manslaughter. So I believe that what they did was chose that thing that was gonna, in their heart, appease all of the people in the court. You're gonna get the conviction for the family, and yet you're gonna give this young man, he won't get life, because second-degree murder carries life.
Right.
And manslaughter carries 40 years.
Right.
So I believe that the jury felt they were doing something that was going to satisfy everybody.
Oh, so they thought they was giving you a solid, giving you 20 years.
Right,
oh,
right.
Okay.
Because they didn't know they didn't determine the sentencing. Manslaughter carries 0 to 40 years. So I could have gotten sentenced anywhere between that range, 0 to 40, right? So I believe that they didn't believe it was a murder. I think that those people believe that whatever happened, it was unintentional. So they gave it manslaughter, right? Now, the sentencing came about 2 months later. So when they sentenced me, they basically gave me 10 years short of the max. And I remember the judge saying something to the effect, he like praised me and then like cut my head off. It was weird because the way he said it was like, what we know about McKinley Phipps is he has never had he's gainfully employed, he's this, that, and the other. He has never had a criminal record as a juvenile, never had a criminal record as an adult. In fact, the only time he has ever been in the back of a police car was for a traffic ticket, an unpaid traffic ticket. He said, and at this moment, he have a 15-month-old son. And I was like, whoa, I'm about to be. He said, but obviously he wasn't thinking of his 15-month-old son when he committed this crime, so we're going to sentence him to 30 years hard labor. What's weird is I think that I sort of chuckled inside a little bit. Like I was in a state of shock. Like I was like, like what? Like I know this motherfucker didn't just say 30 years. You know what I mean? 30 years? Mind you, at the time, I had no knowledge of the law. So in my head, 30 years was 30 freaking years in prison. I didn't know anything about the law. So I remember going back to my cell that night and I cried myself to sleep.